Well, thank you all for being here today, this afternoon, and good afternoon to everyone. You know, today was a remarkable testament of the journey that this city has been on for some time, to really see some reconciliation and an opportunity to heal and move forward, and to acknowledge the pain, unfortunately, that has gone unaddressed for a very long time in this city. And though there are, circumstances that have created a level of tension that has unfortunately led to some stratification, that the body today displayed that we can reconcile our differences, acknowledge our transgressions, and then most importantly, walk in forgiveness. And I'm grateful to those who stood strong today, and particularly Alderwoman Mitts, being able to speak from her lived experience and feel comfortable and safe to be able to say it out loud. It took a great deal of courage, and I'm grateful to her for her leadership. And I'm also grateful to Alderman Rosa for, again, acknowledging his transgressions and has made a commitment to be a part of the effort of what restorative practices will look like. But today we also passed legislation that many in Chicago thought was impossible. We will now bring the issue to Chicago's voters, who will decide whether we should have a dedicated revenue stream to support our city's unhoused. We know that homelessness is up since 2019 and that Black Chicagoans account for 69% of our city's unhoused population. And 1 in 4 Black students in the Chicago Public Schools, unfortunately, will experience homelessness at least once during their lives. And Bring Chicago Home is an important measure that I believe will help rectify this wrong. I look forward to seeing what Chicago voters will decide. And my administration will continue our mission to support Chicago's unhoused, and I will remain resolute in my belief that housing is truly a human right. And also, in today's City Council meeting, we enacted a series of amendments to my administration's 2024 budget recommendations, and we have reaffirmed our commitment to investing in people. Within the Office of the Mayor, this budget creates a new Office of Reentry to support the unique needs of the formerly incarcerated individuals in Chicago. 4 positions and additional dollars will be going to this agency to provide those returning from home from incarceration have access to jobs, employment, and everything else that they need to thrive in this city. This has been a long-term demand for years, and only in this administration is this investment being made. So when I said we could take care of everyone in Chicago, I mean it. This budget also provides funding for a new commission on restoration and reparations. And my administration will work with the Aldermanic Black Caucus to identify a subcommittee within City Council to support this commission's work. These are the first dollars spent in this city to actually begin the process of studying both restoration and reparations. When residents who have experienced neglect and disinvestment for generations speak out of their pain and their trauma, this administration and the Black Caucus, we hear you. So today we are continuing the process to support the people of Chicago with the reminder that this is not a zero-sum game. We will invest in people and provide for every single Chicagoan. We also committed $100 million in community violence intervention to address the trauma felt by those impacted by violence. We are supporting our unhoused. We are working to right the wrongs of the past. But these are more than just dollar amounts. They represent a commitment to serving our communities and addressing the socioeconomic disparities that are holding Chicagoans back, and particularly those in the Black community. We are making critical investments in these communities, but we're doing it in all of our communities. In the years ahead, we will double down on our commitment to young people, affordable housing, community safety, workers' rights, mental health support services. We will continue to do that work. And we would do this until every single resident and every single neighborhood can walk and live and thrive in the greatest freaking city in the world. I'm happy to take your questions.
We've got about 25 minutes, so I'll just try to keep it tight.
Hi,
Just one question, or clarifying question. Did you say subcommittee on restoration and reparations?
Yes.
How will you ensure that that's different from the previous subcommittee on reparations, which I think met maybe twice, and it was, I don't want to say they didn't do much, but it didn't seem like they pushed forward any legislation.
Yeah. So Alderman Hall is here. Alderman Mosley is here. Alderwoman Harris is here. Alderman Burnett is here. Alderman Irvin is here. Alderwoman Dowell is here. It looks very different already, don't it? And there's money attached to it. It's already different. Thank you for that question.
Mariah.
Hi, Mayor.
Hi.
What's your timeline for replacing your floor leader, and what will the process be for replacing the zoning chair? Have you reached out to any alders for either position?
Well, look, the decision, that was made regarding the floor leader and the chair of zoning, was a decision that was, based on a mutual agreement and understanding to move forward. And as I've always done, I will be deliberate and intentional about making sure that we have strong, capable people who can help move the agenda of this administration forward.
Do you have a timeline?
I have a very deliberate timeline.
AD.
I'm wondering what you thought of Alderwoman Scott's comments today about victimhood not being acknowledged and what that means for this restorative justice process between Alderwoman Mitts and Alderman Rosa. Do you worry that your censure vote today solidified any council opposition to your agenda by siding with Alderman Rosa?
The rule that was invoked did not apply. It just didn't. And look, this has, been quite the journey over the course of not just these last few days, but clearly you heard pain that predates my administration. Now, here's the part that I'm grateful for. Alderwoman Mitts made it very clear that she's committed to restorative practices. And she voted with the rest of her colleagues that censorship did not apply in that particular scenario. We stood with Alderwoman Mitts today.
Alice.
Good afternoon. A coalition of progressives signed a letter yesterday saying that your floor leader's resignation might have been, an overreach that caters to bad faith opposition from Raymond Lopez and others against your progressive agenda. What do you think of those concerns?
Bring Chicago home, treatment not trauma, plow in the streets, reparations, Office of Reentry, abolishing subminimum wage, working to provide paid time off. Looks like the progressive agenda is doing just fine.
But what about the concern that his resignation might have been too hasty? Especially they cited the video that came out from CBS 2, I think.
Today, as a body, we stood collectively supporting those who have been impacted by behavior that the alderman has expressed a tremendous amount of regret and remorse. And so now we get to move forward.
Hi, Mayor. The council approved the acceptance of the lot at 115th and Halsted for the shelter. Will that be the city's first base camp? And what would you say to residents of that neighborhood who are concerned that it will pose a threat to their property values and the safety of their families?
This collaborative approach that I promised to bring to government was on display today. All of the alders here stood with Alderman Mosley. And we met with the community. And there's an opportunity to do something that hasn't been done in that corner in 2 decades. Look, the work to continue to bring people together is an ongoing process, especially when there's been some neglect over time. So the concerns of the community, the process is not over. Alderman Mosley and I, we're still committed to engaging with the community, just like I'm committed to engaging with the entire city of Chicago. That doesn't end based upon this step that we are taking moving forward. What it does is it ensures confidence that we are committed to this collaborative approach. It's a new day in Chicago.
Hello, Mayor. I guess it's a two-part question. First, do you feel you bear any responsibility for what your then floor leader did last Thursday in trying to squash this sanctuary city referendum?
What my floor leader engaged in, he admitted that it was bad behavior and that it had a profound impact on our colleagues. And he recognized his transgression. He apologized for it, and the body is prepared to move forward.
And I guess in that vein, what will you do to try to heal the divisions in the council so that things can get done for your agenda and others?
We're already starting that process. You know, one of the first things that you have to do is give room to give space to recognize that pain. And I was on the phone all weekend, had a conversation with several alders on Thursday. You know, I was just returning from DC and, you know, working hard to make sure that we're getting what we need at the federal level. We're going to continue this process of restorative practices, and this is a collective response. I've set the tone today, just like I have set the tone for the last 6 months. The type of decorum that has to be maintained is one that I'm committed to do. But the last thing that I'll say to your question is that we're not alone here. It would be one thing if all of it rests on one individual, but it doesn't. Everyone up here has made a commitment to restorative practice. To single anyone out, to ask what they are going to do specifically, it ignores the collective work that the city of Chicago elected us to do.
You're the mayor, though. That's why I asked you.
Taman.
Hi, Mayor. Did you or anyone in your administration tell Carlos Ramirez Rosa to try to stop last Thursday's meeting from happening? And if the answer is no, what was your reaction when you learned that he was trying to block that meeting from happening?
Well, if you remember, I believe I was asked before of whether or not, you know, I thought the meeting should move forward. People presented a resolution for a special meeting. I didn't block that. People should come to work. I've said that. I don't stop people from coming to work. In fact, we're working hard so that more people can go to work. That's what my budget does. You know, as far as the information that came to me, you know, once I touched down in Chicago, again, I got on the phone right away to try to understand what was happening. And then we moved forward with this restorative practice. And today we took a step closer to healing.
Hey, Mayor. Bring Chicago Home is entering its next phase. What role do you plan on playing in that campaign in terms of political finances or organizing? How do you see the next few months going down for you before voters vote on this?
Well, look, first of all, congratulations to the coalition for their work and their commitment to finally getting this passed. And congratulations to my colleagues who kept their word, because I wasn't the only one who made campaign promises. You know, as far as what my specific role and what that organizing will look like, you know, that's an ongoing discussion. What I'm confident in is, though, that people want us to finally address something that has gone unaddressed for too long. That this revenue stream, where 96% of taxpayers will have a reduction in a transfer exchange, and that there are increments, you know, beyond $1 million and $1.5 million, to make sure that we're actually addressing the unhoused crisis in Chicago, of which, again, 70% of those who are experiencing, you know, this crisis are Black. And so we're working very hard to ensure that the Black community in particular, now this is going to affect everyone, but the pain that Black Chicago has experienced over time, that you just did not have the type of cooperation that we have now. It doesn't mean that these individuals who have been here haven't been pushing for it. I can tell you, Alderman, you know, Burnett has been very clear about his work to bring housing and affordable housing. Alderman Irvin is breaking ground on the west side of Chicago. Alderman Dow, you already know what Alderman Mosley is already ready to do. And, you know, Alderwoman Harris has been a leader. And Will Hall, he just got here, so the jury's still out on him. No, I'm teasing. But he's very much committed to this effort as well. And so the question, you know, really is, do we recognize that this crisis has to be addressed? And the answer is yes. Do we recognize that Black people are disproportionately impacted by this crisis? The answer is yes. Are we committed to generating revenue to actually deal with this crisis? I'm confident that the people of Chicago are going to say yes.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Can you explain
Say good evening. It ain't been that long.
It's daylight savings, sir.
Yes, it is just about there. Fair enough. Good evening.
Can you explain what went into your decision to reject Marcel Bright's nomination to the first Police District Council vacancy? And now that your office has requested the CCPSA forward a different candidate, can you say how quickly, once they do that, you'll be able to fill that vacancy?
Well, look, there's been, a very deliberate, thorough process that, we have undergone. And, I'm committed to continuing to work with the CCCPSA on coming up with a process that gets at the heart of what this entity wants. And that's, having individuals that, speak to the values and the interests of the people of Chicago. And so I'm going to continue to work, with the CCCPSA. And again, all of my decisions are quite intentional and very deliberate, because it's important that we get it right. We know what it looks like when we don't get it right. So we don't want to repeat the past, especially because there's such an opportunity here to demonstrate a real collaborative approach to bring in real accountability.
Hi. Given the huge budget tensions that have emerged in the last sort of month, the shortage of money essentially, why are you kind of committed to a real terms property tax cut that essentially will cost the city in a budget that relies so heavily on one-time sources of revenue to cover all this investment?
Well, I don't know if you, thank you for that question. I don't know if you were here when I was running for office. I made a promise that we can invest in people without burdening working people. I mean, look, when I put forth my budget plan last January, people criticized it, said, that somehow I was just making stuff up. I said there would be a $500 million deficit. True. I said that I'm going to commit to making sure that we, pay our pensions because of the neglect that happened when I was in high school. Check, done that too. I said that we're going to invest in people and we're going to make sure that we're not ignoring people who have been, thirsty for a very long time. Check, we've done that. Today is a good example of that. I don't know where else, in the country you're seeing such a very bold, audacious, progressive effort and not putting the burden on the backs of working people. There's been a lot of conversation about, black folks being forced out of the city of Chicago. And today, our budget speaks to creating a dynamic that allows for real healing and restoration to take place. And the good news, though, is I get more budgets to pass. This is just one.
Hi, Mayor. So yesterday when it was announced that he was resigning from his post, it was said that Alderman Ramirez-Rosa would stay on as chair of the zoning committee until December 1st. But given that at least 3 of his colleagues have said he specifically threatened to stall zoning changes in their wards, do you think it's appropriate that he remain in that position? I think the zoning committee is supposed to meet twice between now and December 1st. And just a follow-up question, do you believe the city's inspector general should investigate Carlos Ramirez-Rosa for those actions?
Look, having an opportunity to have a transition from these past 6 months, we have to do it in a thoughtful way. Look, he's admitted where he missed the mark. He admitted that. And there's a commitment for him to work towards restoration. And, as far as, how other attachments to government, engage, look, people have their right to signal in any way their desires to have some recourse. And, I understand that there are some real deep emotions and feelings around that, and, how what has been the accusations that have been put forth and how those accusations are investigated or substantiated or not, that the process that allows for that to take place, I have never been an obstruction to any form or any level of government.
But do you think he should stay on as chair of the zoning committee?
As I said, that there's a process that is taking place and that he is resigned.
Mitch, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Hello, Mayor. This is Coco from Sandwich One sandwich. Is there any result yet on the environmental assessment of the potential migrant base camp at 38th Street and California Avenue? And why did the city sign a contract with the owner before the evaluation result? If the assessment fails, what happened next? Thank you.
So thank you for that question. The assessment is taking place, and those results have not taken place yet. I'm sorry, those results have not been released yet. And as soon as we get those results, we'll have obviously a much better understanding of how we move forward. Look, I have to take steps and make decisions in preparation for what we have to do. And what we have to do is what I made a commitment to doing, is that we have to get people, pregnant women who are sleeping on floors in police stations and families who are sleeping outside. And as I've already articulated, that I have a budget that addresses the dynamics in the city of Chicago that have gone unaddressed for too long, just because there just wasn't the type of cooperation that we are experiencing today. And we also have to deal with this international crisis around global population shift. If you remember, I was in this very room saying that the foreign policies that have caused this type of massive disruption are problematic, particularly the sanctions. Now, President Biden has eased those sanctions, and we continue to push the federal government to provide resources for this endeavor. Has been expressed before. We have 30,000 Ukrainians who are here, who had full force of the federal government to support them, 30,000, and no one even knows that they're here. That's not equity. And as said repeatedly, the state has to do more as well to lean in. So look, the city of Chicago, we have had to bear the brunt and the responsibility of this crisis. And that's not equitable. Now, we are standing as firm and as strong as we possibly can, and there are limitations to what we're able to do. And so we have to level set, provide room and space, challenge the state and the federal government to continue to do its part. Alderman Hall is here. He was at the border with other colleagues, challenging. Look, this administration is working hard. Y'all know it. I do, and I still ride my bike every day.
Hi, Mayor. I want to ask you a quick question about the casino. Bally's is not on pace to meet their projections for this year. Just curious, how confident are you that they'll be able to hit their targets for your budget next year?
Yeah, look, there's been a debate, around this, obviously well before, I took office. I don't want, people to think that I'm not aware of the challenges, right? And that there are, as far as my confidence level, look, Bally's has to continue to do its part. To market and to encourage and to deliver. I'm doing my part, right? And I'm confident that the work that I'm doing, you're seeing the fruit of that labor. An entire office dedicated to reparations. Entire commission dedicated to reparations. Under the office of the mayor, supporting those who are formerly incarcerated. Vast majority of them come back to North Lawndale, Austin, where I live, and Inglewood and Roseland. So we're going to continue to move in a direction that is intentional, that I made a commitment to the people of Chicago, and grateful that we have colleagues that are committed to that work as well.
Hi, Mayor. Over the next few months, the commercial real estate industry is probably going to be pushing hard to tell people that they're in a vulnerable position post-COVID, that we already have the highest commercial property taxes in the nation, and that this is just going to hurt them. Bring Chicago Home will hurt them. What will you do to combat that, and what do you think your chances are on the ballot?
So I appreciate that people keep asking me about my confidence. I appreciate that.
What will you do to combat those
what I'm saying is, but I'm okay with people asking me that. When I announced last October, I was polling at 2.2%. I'm just saying that, it's not, I hope I don't sound like I'm being hubris. I'm just saying that why push for an effort where everybody agrees that 70% of those who are unhoused are black? You're asking me how confident I am in the city of Chicago to work on behalf of black people. I got you, though. Hold on a second. I'm trying to answer your question. The people that elected me gave me the confidence to move an agenda that they knew that I was committed to. It's not like I just sprung this on them. When I ran, I said that this is what we're going to do. The people of Chicago had an opportunity to vote for someone else who wasn't supporting this initiative. So if you're asking me my confidence is as strong as the people who sent me to do the work. Now, I got you. And then the second part of your question is what I'm going to do to combat. I know that another reporter alluded to this. I get why you're asking me the question as mayor. But I don't work in a silo. So it's not about what I'm going to do specifically. This movement is bigger than an office. I want people to understand that I literally work in collaboration with people. And so guess what we're going to do? We're going to knock doors. We're going to talk to people. We're going to hold community meetings. And then we're going to tell the story that 1 in 4 black children who experience homelessness, that ain't right. 70% of those who are unhoused that are black, that ain't right. We're going to right the wrong.
The main question, what will you do to allay concerns that this is going to hurt the already vulnerable commercial real estate market?
I'm not raising property taxes. That includes them. Are there other questions? No. You all have been fascinating. Have a great evening.